Hi everybody, it's Julia, your trusted travel expert, helping you find that je ne sais quoi wherever you are in the world. And one of the best ways that you are able to find that certain something about a place is if you give yourself enough time. And I'm not really talking about slow travel because I don't think a lot of people really have the advantage or the possibility to really just go and spend 3 weeks in one small region and really give it the full time it deserves. But at the same time, you want to maximize the vacation that you do have. So I want to kind of give you a few little guidelines. And I did this a little bit for road trips previously, but in this case, I'm really talking about flying. And so of course, if you're flying somewhere, how long it takes you to get there really affects how long you should spend there. Same way as driving. But so if you've got, like 5 days to kind of just about a week, you're really kind of looking at what some people affectionately call fly and flop trips. Meaning, beach destinations are a great option for this. If you're on the East Coast, the Caribbean islands, are a perfect place. Mexico and the Caribbean, that's a perfect place for you to go and spend a couple of days. If you're on the West Coast, Hawaii is actually really great. It's a little far for East Coasters to go over there for just about a week. That's a little bit too short. But you can also, especially if you're on the East Coast, you can go over to Europe for 5 days to a week. It is kind of pushing it, and I would suggest that if you do decide to go, take that transatlantic flight and spend a night over, on the plane overnight. I suggest that you really kind of stick to either like one city with day trips or one pretty condensed area, because 5 days goes really, really fast. I'm saying this specifically because I have a client that's looking at doing a little bit of a road trip from Venice as sort of a post trip to another trip they have that they're going to for business reasons. And so that makes sense because they're already adding, they're already going over for a longer period of time, but their vacation part of the trip is really only 5 days. And so I'm really trying to keep them to Venice and then 1 or 2 cities within an hour or two drive of there, like Verona and Bologna, or maybe Slovenia. They can't quite decide which direction they're going. But you really want to keep it to a limited area. Like London for a week with day trips is perfect. There's so much to do in that city. Paris would be another example. Rome, Barcelona, things like that. Those are great places if you've got sort of a week or less time and you still want to go to Europe. It's still possible. Now if you've got more like 10 days to 15, 18 days, a little right around that 2-week time frame, that's really the sweet spot. And you can pretty much kind of go anywhere in the world, especially Europe. That's a perfect kind of amount of time to explore. Again though, like sort of one region. I wouldn't say even one country, because river cruises, you can cover several different countries because a lot of times the rivers are on borders or, easily accessible. But if you're going to do it on the road, probably one region or one country in a couple weeks, or, under that kind of 2-week time frame. Because again, you don't want to be rushing through and not be able to remember anything. I always recommend 2 or 3 nights anywhere you go. And so, when you've got 10 days, 12, 15 days, that, you can see how many destinations that sort of adds up to. Because you also don't want to spend your entire vacation traveling. Europe is not the only place you can go if you only have 2 weeks though. Upper, like South America, Central America, like the Galapagos, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, these are all places that you can get to pretty quickly, and then that 10 to 15 days is a really good amount of time to explore those areas. Even Tahiti and Alaska, even from the East Coast, that's a really good amount of time to be able to really explore those destinations and get to know them. Now, if you have 3 weeks or more, then you really can get into some exciting kind of more bucket list type ideas. Like Australia and New Zealand. I have some clients that thought they could do both of them in 3 weeks, and then when I started actually telling them about the distances and the time and the things that they might want to see, yeah, they extended that to 4 weeks, no problem. Africa, I've been learning a lot about Africa, and it takes a really long time to get down in South and Eastern and parts of Africa for safaris. So that's the kind of thing that if you've got 3 weeks, that's something you might want to look at. Southeast Asia, for West Coasters, you can actually, there are some Southeast Asian destinations that you could do in even 2 weeks, but again, you know, it's such a vast and diverse region that, you know, 3 weeks is a really good block of time to do kind of one kind of grouping of areas or countries down in Southeast Asia. You know, if you have more than that, then the world is your oyster and you can kind of go anywhere. I just previewed a trip that's 24 days through the Northwest Passage, all the way from Greenland to Alaska, which was just amazing, totally drool worthy. You know, you've got round the world cruises, round the world jet trips. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do if you've got kind of unlimited time. But since most of us have limited time because of family obligations or work obligations or this or that, I wanted to give you a little primer on where you kind of should focus your attentions if you've got kind of 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. So I hope that was helpful. I will talk to you next week. Bye.